Seven Brothers of the Star Cluster, The Origin of the Pleiades, by Edward Cornplanter, as reported by Arthur Parker, Seneca Myths and Folktales, University of Nebraska Press, originally published in 1923. Seven brothers had been trained as young warriors. Each day they practiced in front of their mother's lodge, but this did not please the mother. With the boys was an uncle whose custom it was to sit outside the lodge door and drum upon a water drum, that the boys might learn to dance correctly. In time, the boys became perfect in their dancing and then announced that they were about to depart on an expedition to test their skill. The seven assembled about the war post and began their dance. They then went into their mother's lodge and asked her to supply them with dried meat and parched corn for their journey, but she sent them away, scoffing at their presumptions. Again they danced and again returned for food. "I will not give you so much as a small cake of cornbread," said the mother, hoping to restrain them. But they went back to their dance. A third time they returned, but again were repulsed. The fourth dance started, and the oldest youth changed his tune to a different song. With great enthusiasm he sang, compelling his brothers to dance a dance of magic. Hearing the weird music, the mother rushed out of the lodge and saw her sons dancing in the air over the trees. This greatly startled her, and she cried, "Return, my sons! What manner of departure is this?" But the song continued, and the boys danced higher and higher. Again the mother cried, "Oh, my eldest son, will you not return?" But the eldest son would not listen, though his heart was touched. Then the mother screamed, "Oh, my eldest son, will you not hear your mother's voice? Only look down to me." Then was the oldest son's heart touched very deeply, but he did not respond for fear of making his brothers weak. "Oh, my brothers," he called, "heed no sounds from the earth, but continue dancing. If you look down, you shall fall and never more be able to dance." The mother now gave a heartbroken cry and called, "Oh, my firstborn son, give your mother one look, one last look, or I die." This weakened the heart of the oldest son, and he looked down toward the figure of his mother with outstretched arms, weeping for him. As he looked, he lost his power to master the air and began to fall. With great rapidity, he fell until he struck the earth and penetrated it, leaving only a scar where the soil came together again. The mother rushed to the spot and swept aside the rubbish, but no trace of her son could she find. Finally, looking up, she saw her other boys dancing far up in the sky. They had become the dancing stars. In deep sorrow, the mother, with covered head, sat beside the spot where her firstborn had fallen. For a whole year she wept as she watched. Winter came, and her dancing boys appeared over the council house, and each night were observed overhead, but no sign of her eldest could be seen. Springtime came, and the time of budding plants. From the spot where the eldest had disappeared, a tiny green shoot appeared. This the mother watched with great solicitude. It grew into a tall tree and became the first pine. This tree was guarded by the melancholy old woman, and she would allow no man to touch it. She knew that if it was her son and would sometimes speak to her. The wind blew and the tree swayed. It began to speak, and the mother heard. Only she could interpret the sounds that came from the waving branches. Only she could see the face of the young warriors with his plumes. A careless hunter slashed at the tree and blood flowed, but the mother bound up the wound and drove other intruders away. In time, the tree bore small, short feathers, cones, and more trees grew. These the hunters slashed in order to get pitch for canoes and ropes. Every winter, the pine tree talked to its dancing brothers in the sky, and the mother knew that her eldest son should be her comfort while she rested on this earth.
The Hunting of the Great Bear, a story by Ray Faden. This is a story that many Ganyagehaga tell their children during the winter moons. Many winters in the past, there was a Ganyagehaga village. One day, hunters discovered the tracks of a giant bear. They saw these tracks many times and noticed that sometimes the tracks would circle the village. Deer, turkey, and other game began to disappear from the forests around them, and the Ganyagehaga knew that the giant bear was killing and carrying off all of the game. Being unable to hunt for food, famine came to the village. The meat racks were empty, and the people were hungry and facing starvation. Finally, the head chief said, "We must kill this giant bear who is causing all of our trouble." Hunters and warriors came together to set out in search of the bear. They soon came upon his tracks in the snow, and they followed the bear tracks for many days. Finally, they came upon the huge bear. All at once, the air was filled with arrows, heading towards the bear. To the surprise and dismay of the people, the arrows failed to pierce the thick hide of the bear. Many of their arrows even broke from his tough skin. This attack made the bear angry, and he turned and charged at the hunters, who fled but were soon overtaken. Only 2 of the hunters escaped, and when they returned to the village, they told their people about what had happened. Party after party of warriors set out to destroy the great bear, but always they failed. There were many battles fought between the bear and the people, and many died. As time went on, more and more deer vanished from the forest, leaving the people hungry, sick, and filled with fear. They feared the great bear whose tracks circled their town each night. They feared leaving their village because they could hear, coming from the darkness of the forest, the loud growl of the bear. One night, 3 brothers each had a strange dream. This continued for 3 nights in a row, where they all had the same dream. They dreamt that they had tracked and killed the great bear. They decided that the dream must be true, so they put together a bundle of weapons and food, and they sought out after the bear. In a short time, they came upon the tracks of the bear and followed the trail. For many moons, the brothers followed the tracks of the great bear across the earth. The tracks led them to the end of the world, and looking ahead, they saw the giant bear leap from the earth and into the stars. The 3 hunters continued to chase after the bear, and without hesitation, the 3 of them followed the bear into the night sky. It is said that in the sky, you can still see them chasing the bear during the long winter months. In the fall of each year, when the bear gets ready to sleep for the winter, the 3 hunters are able to get close enough to shoot their arrows at him. His dripping blood, caused by the wounds from the arrows, turned the autumn leaves red and yellow. However, he always manages to escape from the hunters. When the Ganegehaga see the Big Dipper in the sky, they say, "See, the 3 hunters are still chasing that great bear."